Today in No Man's Sky I have for you everything you could possibly want to know about the Minotaur Exo Mech that was added in this new No Man's Sky 2.4 Exo Mech update. We'll go through how to get it, how it handles its base technology and procedural technology upgrades, with full stats from the game files, how adjacency bonuses work with it, and a peak best build layout for your new Minotaur Gundam. So let's get right into it. The Minotaur Exo Mech is obtained by purchasing the blueprint for the Minotaur Geo Bay. For those who are not aware of how this works, Geo Bays are a buildable pad that allows you to summon and customize the appearance of your Exocrafts. Geo Bays can be built anywhere, except of course within the perimeter of another player's base, but specifically they do not require a base to be built. The blueprint for the Minotaur can be found in the construction terminal on the Nexus. This is where all geobays can be purchased using salvage data. The blueprint will cost 10 salvage data, and while you're at it, grab the new Orbital Exocraft Materialiser, which is another 15. You can obtain salvage data on the surface of planets by using your analysis visor to scan for this icon. Head over and use the terrain manipulator to unearth it, and interact with the device to gain your blueprint currency. The Minotaur Geobay costs 5 metal plating, 4 iron battery and 100 paraffinium to build, though you will only need to build this once if you have a freighter and have purchased a new Orbital Exocraft Materialiser. Speaking of which, to utilise this new technology, you must simply build it in your freighter base. It will cost you 150 gold, 50 ionised cobalt and 3 warp cells. Once built, you'll be able to summon any of your existing Exocrafts on any planet or moon, providing your freighter is in the system. This is super convenient and something people have been asking for quite some time. Also remember that you can call your freighter from a planet's surface using your quick menu for ultimate ease. The handling of the Minotaur is pretty dire in all honesty. I'm not a fan of it in general, and I'm hoping that due to the overall response of the player base on this matter, that HG will tweak its handling to be far more user friendly. Currently the Minotaur, in the words of Golden Gek, has the turning circle of an ocean liner. I have found to turn at all you really need to overturn massively, and even then it takes quite some time and space. This wouldn't at all be an issue if you could do what you can with your base avatar and use the analysis visor to set your facing direction. The jetpacks are similar for movement to the rocket boots, where the direction you are facing is where you leap boost forward, and considering its ability to turn, this is quite tricky to do in any direction other than forward. I realise this is a fairly negative review of the Minotaur's handling, but I have confidence in Hello Games and that they will address the handling difficulties somewhat soon. Also, its other abilities are actually pretty swish. The Minotaur has 8 base technology modules. The first is a deadless engine. This is the power unit and what you will charge to make it go. It has an engine fuel use of 0.5, which compared to the other Exocraft's base of 1, I believe the Minotaur just generally uses half as much fuel as the other Exocrafts. Otherwise its speed, grip and skid are the same as the other base engines. Next is the Ariadne's Flame. This is the jetpack of the Minotaur and has base stats for boost speed and tanks all set to 1. Then there is the Environmental Control Unit. This is the Minotaur's hazard protection, which will protect you from all environmental hazards. All 3 of these technology modules do not require the blueprint to be purchased and are pre-built into your Minotaur. The deadless engine is the only one of the 3 that needs charging and accepts the standard fuel of carbon, condensed carbon and oxygen. The Ariadne's Flame Environmental Control Unit can oddly be dismantled and rebuilt. Simply building them halfway by having the unbuilt module in the inventory is enough for them to work. I expect that will be adjusted in time. Next is the self-greasing servos, which is an upgrade to the deadless engine, lowering fuel use by 20%. In game this stat is not shown, but the files don't lie. It also does not appear to share an adjacency bonus with the deadless engine at this time, but that may change in the future. It's also worth noting that the 20% reduction in fuel usage is as good as the best possible fuel usage bonus of an S-Class Minotaur engine procedural tech upgrade. though of course the S-Class Procedural Tech upgrade boosts more stats than just fuel usage. Lastly, after more fiddling, at the time of recording this video, the self-greasing servos module cannot be dismantled once it has been built, so bear that in mind. Then there is a Minotaur radar array. This is your scanner. It has no upgrades in blueprint tech or procedural upgrades. This one tech module is everything, which is actually quite nice as space is a real premium in these Exocrafts. This scanner is very powerful and an absolute dream for ship hunters, scrappers, farmers and pretty much all players really, as it can be used in a standard way by pressing your basic scan button to have it highlight nearby resources, but via the use of the quicker menu you can scan for 3 things. Depots, which can be destroyed to gain its resources, many of which are very valuable, including parts to build stasis devices and lots more. Secure facilities, which refer to manufacturing facilities and operation centres, so it has you covered for solving riddles to get many things, including access to primary crafting blueprints required for stasis devices, fusion igniters, as well as many others. And potentially the best one, which is distress signals. This refers to crash ships and crash freighters. Using the Minotaur scanner, you can directly scan for crash ship locations, which if used well can make you a very wealthy scrapper and much loved member of the community when you share your S-Class finds with everyone. This scanner, depending on your playstyle, is arguably the best part of the Minotaur. Next in technology is a Minotaur Boar. This is essentially the Minotaur's terrain manipulator, which has full functionality. You can do everything you would with the standard terrain manipulator, except the angle from which you do it is higher than normal, so it's actually a little easier for large scale terraforming. Also, its fuel is just the 3 organic fuel sources as with the engine at carbon, condensed carbon and oxygen. Lastly, before weapons, is the Icarus fuel system. This is essentially a fuel recharging system that will refuel your deadless engine during the day. This is the only technology here that isn't specific to the Minotaur. The Icarus fuel system can be used on all Exocrafts and is a great little addition through this update. Now we have the weapons. First is a Minotaur laser, which is quite powerful with its base damage of 102. It's actually 100, and that 100 is what's affected by upgrades and adjacency bonuses. But after all that is worked out, a further 2 damage is plopped on top. 102 is actually very strong as base damage, and with upgrades will allow for mass deforestation. This base laser also has a base stat for heat time, which affects how quickly it will overheat. This is set to 1 and is what the upgrades will affect. The laser is used to mine trees, rocks and crystals, though many rocks and crystals cannot be mined with just a base laser module, and that's where the next one comes into play. The Precision Minotaur Laser. This upgrade to the laser module boosts damage by 50, giving you 152 damage on trees, rocks and crystals, but also introduces the Strong Laser stat, which allows for the mining of more top draw resources via rocks and crystals like pure ferrite instead of just ferrite dust. Interestingly, at the time of recording this guide, having the module half built will give you the 50 damage boost, but not the Strong Laser stat, so make sure to fully build it. Lastly, out of the technology for the Minotaur is the Minotaur Cannon. This is your primary weapon which does substantial damage to fauna and sentinels. It has a base damage of 380, though this, as with the laser, is not the full story. Its actual base damage is 340. 340 is what all upgrades work off. Even then, the upgrades work in a strange way, which I'll go into with the procedural technology shortly. But what you will see in game and is effective is 380 damage. The Minotaur Cannon has a base heat time stat as well as a rate of fire of roughly 2.9 per second, which translates to a base of 1085 damage per second. Also very worth noting is that the cannon will do only 20% damage to rocks, trees and crystals, making the laser a must for such things. To build all of these technology modules, not including the 3 you get by default, you'll need 7 wiring looms, 65 dihydrogen, 1 cobalt mirror, 200 projectile ammunition, 40 cobalt, 100 silicate powder, 50 pugnium, 2 gravitino balls, 155 chromatic metal, 40 magnetized ferrite, 3 storm crystals, 2 microprocessors, and 1 acid. All but the acid and the storm crystals can be purchased in some way or another. I believe gravitino balls may still be purchased from trading posts, but I can't be sure. Procedural technology for the Minotaur Exo Mech does exist in No Man's Sky, it just wasn't available to purchase right away due to a bug. Let's go through them, what they can offer, and all of the stats they can produce. There are 3 different types of procedural technology for the Minotaur Exo Mech, and all 3 are available in B, A and S class. There are no C class versions of this tech. You can have 3 of each type of procedural module. This includes the different classes, the limit is specific to the type. So 3 Minotaur engine, 3 Minotaur laser and 3 Minotaur cannon. Any more and all of that type will be deactivated until they are back down to only 3. All of these procedural technology modules can be purchased from the Exocraft vendor in all non-abandoned space stations, and they cost the standard price with no system specific modifiers, so 140, 300 and 480 nanites for the B, A and S class respectively. First is a Minotaur engine procedural tech upgrades. The way they work is that you will get some stats that each module can produce based on a range, so for this one, B class upgrades will only ever have one of the 2 stats available, and it could be either. For A class it is 1 or 2 of the stats with 2 being rare, and S class is guaranteed both stats. The 2 stats this can have are fuel usage and boost tanks. For the ranges of these I'll only say the S class, but on screen I'll put the ranges for all classes. So an S class Minotaur engine upgrade will have between -15 and -20% fuel usage, with the lesser end of the bonus being unlikely, and a boost tank stat of between 25 and 30% with the maximum being unlikely. The other 2 types of procedural technology upgrades for the Minotaur are the laser and cannon. These are tricky, primarily regarding the damage bonuses. They are somewhat strange and don't make all that much sense without HG telling us exactly how it's all calculated. But either way, the Minotaur laser upgrades at S class will have 2 stats, one being mining laser efficiency, which will be between 15 and 20% with the minimum being uncommon. Mining laser efficiency is ID'd in the files as vehicle laser heat time, and so could be expected to be an increase in the time it takes for laser to overheat, or in the case of exosuit weapons, run out of fuel. And mining laser power, which is a flat damage increase of between 30 and 40 damage, favouring the lower end, but will display in game as a percentage, one that doesn't really fit what appears to be the maths, so we can assume that more happens behind the scenes. Unfortunately, this means I can't tell you a perfect max stat for this as far as percentage goes, but the maximum I saw after doing a whole host of different iterations is 48% with the lowest being 37%. Lastly is a Minotaur cannon upgrade. At S class, this will guarantee all 3 possible stats, which are weapon power efficiency, or time to overheat giving between 15 and 20% again, with the minimum being unlikely, rate of fire between 15 and 20% with the maximum being unlikely, then damage again, which will be between 30 and 40 with the maximum being uncommon, though that will appear as a percentage as with the laser. After testing through 15 modules, the maximum I saw was 13%, with the lowest being 10%. Almost every one of them was either 10 or 11%, with only a single 13. If anyone watching would like to submit a maximum for damage on either laser or cannon that beats these, please DM me on Discord or email me with an IMGA link to a screenshot for validation. I'd be very interested, but of course need evidence to take it seriously. Also, is that pronounced IMGA or Imager? Because I've always called it IMGA. Adjacency bonuses are actually nice and simple once you understand it. There are 4 different types, a lesser and greater multiplicative and a lesser and greater additive, which translates to 3% and 6% for the multiplicative and 2% and 4% for the additive. These bonuses apply to tech modules that are being touched on any of their 4 sides by another piece of tech that it shares a bonus with. This can be observed via a thick outline that shows up around the module when the adjacency is in effect. For example, if a Minotaur Cannon S-Class procedural tech upgrade is touching the Minotaur Cannon primary module, or any of the other 2 S-Class procedural modules you may have, it will be receiving this bonus. The module that module is touching is also gaining a bonus by being adjacent to it. To work out what bonus is in effect, you simply count how many sides are being touched by eligible modules and multiply that by the bonus percentage. And that is how much the module stats are being increased by simply being next to it. It is very important to not only arrange your modules by the number of bonuses occurring, but also by what modules are getting the greater bonuses. For example, if you have the Minotaur cannon in a cube with its upgrades, as there are 4 total modules for this group that share adjacency bonuses, you will have a total of 8 bonuses happening, because each module has 2 of its sides gaining a bonus. The issue here is that not all bonuses are created equal, as while each of these 8 bonuses are 6%, they are 6% of the module that is gaining it, 3 of which are just upgrades that give 12% or so to damage, and 6% of 12% is hardly anything. But 6% of the main module, which compared to 12% would be 100%, is quite something. So for this, instead of having them in a cube to maximise the overall quantity of bonuses, they should be in a T-shape with the cannon in the middle, as while this is only 6 total bonuses, 3 of them are very powerful. If we were to imagine the main module is 100, and each of the upgrades is 12% of that, so each gives 12, having them in a cube would mean 6 bonuses that give 0.72 and 2 bonuses that give 6. So a total of 16.32 versus the T-shape which has 3 at 0.72 and 3 at 6 for a total of 20.16. I very much hope I explained that in a good way. It's a tricky one for sure and took me a little while to get my head around it originally. And now we move on to the ultimate build for the Minotaur, and it is a doozy, my dudes. First of all, the Icarus Fuel System, Ariadne's Flame, Environmental Control Unit, Minotaur Radar Ray, and the Minotaur Boar have no adjacency bonuses with anything, so they can be put to the side for the moment to fill in gaps later for a neater arrangement. So now the cannon. The Minotaur's cannon upgrades have quite a low stat bonus, the damage being the lowest in comparison to the primary unit. This makes the T pattern where everything is touching the main unit above each other the perfect layout for this set of modules. The difference between separate, cube and T is such a big one that even if you manage to get the upgrades maxed, this would still be the ideal layout. Next is the laser. This one is different in a few ways. For one, there are 5 and not 4 total modules in this set, though the primary difference is that the upgrades for this set give a far superior bonus comparatively to the cannon with their main module. They give between 37 and 48% damage, maybe even more is possible. That mixed with the extra blueprint upgrade giving us 62% on the damage, even though we know it's 50. Yes, they really calculate this strangely. Means that this layout will differ depending on the power of the upgrades. We can only effectively test damage, so you have 2 primary options. The first is a cross pattern. This is where every other module is touching a side of the main module, essentially the T-shape, only with an extra module. Or you can do as I have done here and make a cube with 2 of the S-Class upgrades, the main module and the precision laser, with the extra S-Class module touching the main module. Just make sure that the 2 S-Class modules in the cube are your 2 best ones. The difference in these 2 layouts for me was a single point of damage. I would suggest really that you just go with whichever you think looks neater, or just try both and shoot a rock a few times so you can see the damage it deals per hit and compare. The engine is another fairly simple one. I would suggest making a cube out of the main module to self-greasing servos and 2 S-Class upgrades, then have the final S-Class module touching the main module. Also, as with the laser, make sure the 2 best S-Class upgrades are the 2 in the cube. Arrange these all and then fill in the gaps with everything else. Happy days. It has come to the conclusion. I actually rather like this mech, more so than I did before starting this guide. Its handling is atrocious, but gets easier the more you get used to it, though I stand by needing a tweak or 2. Looks wise it is fantastic, super rugged and beefy, very sci-fi, very industrial. The camera angle when piloting really needs some work. The higher up camera location it shoots into when you use a feature is what it should be all the time, or maybe there are even better options, but the standard camera location is pretty terrible and not enjoyable to use. The fuels it uses and the rate it uses them is pretty sweet. The cannon is both quite powerful but not good enough. In my big old test fight with some Centaur scum, I found myself really missing both my shield and my ability to dodge, It feels like the lack of agility really isn't made up in any way, so it just isn't fun to fight with or even fire with the semi-terrible aiming angle for the cannon. The laser is fantastic, it shreds trees and rocks super fast. I'm fairly sure it is the best in game at the mining laser as far as raw power goes. That being said, its limited inventory makes it bittersweet for collecting a huge area for resources, and that's taking into account me likely getting rid of the cannon modules for space. A great way to get around this, as space is an issue for all Exocrafts, would be to either allow for inventory augmentation at the Exocrafts and or give them a technology inventory. The scanning for crashed ships is the joint best feature with the mining capabilities in my opinion, and makes this a worthwhile investment. The ability to now call it almost anywhere without any hardship means I'll actually be using this in general play. Another perspective for this in greater use is on permadeath playthroughs. While it won't protect you from the sentinels, it will protect you from the weather while still allowing for greater function than previously allowed. In short, I like it indeed, but it needs a bit of work to become as great as it could be. Thanks for watching folks, I hope you enjoyed this mini mega guide and that it was helpful in your gameplay. If it was, consider subscribing for more guides, let's play streams and No Man's Sky news. Make sure to ring the bell and set your notifications to ping on your device to stay informed. If you wish to help support Zane's World and allow me to continue to do stuff like this, I have a Patreon, YouTube memberships and a merch store filled with comfy tees and hoodies, all linked below in the pinned comment along with the Discord link and a link to the website, where you can find written guides, news articles and tools to help you in your game. Have a phantasmic day.